It's Heron from the Westport River Watershed Alliance, and today we're going to be doing our last garden visit for the year. You've been learning so much about gardens throughout the whole year, how the plants grow, the things that you need to do to take care of the plants and animals, and why it's important to have an organic garden so that you don't add any extra fertilizers or chemicals into the area, so that it's a good habitat for butterflies and bees and other pollinators that come by. So we're going to head into the garden and see how things have been doing and what kinds of things we need to do to help the plants grow, and check in on the chickens and see what they're up to. All right, so here we are. We're heading into the garden and kind of following up on some of those things that we planted last time and things that were already growing. So our first plant that you remember from last time is we had the chives, and they had just started flowering, and now they have lots of flowers. We had planted some basil, and actually because it was a cold and windy, the basil isn't doing that well. So we're gonna have to start some new basil and do a replanting of that one. We did plant the dill last time, a little bit too close to the chives, but it's doing really well and it's almost flowering. So that looks good. The oregano is looking really good, almost a little too big for over here. It's taking up a lot of space, but it's very happy. We had the cilantro that we just planted, and that one's looking really good. And this fennel started to grow up. Must have been a seed from something I had planted last year. So this one smells like licorice. Here's our tomato plants. We've put the cages up around the tomatoes to support them while they're growing. And they also are doing really well, and they've started to flower, so we can see the tomato flower right there. So I think they've probably grown maybe 6 inches in the month, although some of them are doing better than others. That one's still staying pretty small. And then some in the back here have grown quite big. Over here I also planted some lettuce that's going to go under my cucumbers when they start to grow up. There's a red leaf lettuce that's starting to grow pretty big. There's a little green leaf lettuce over there. It's still kind of small. And then I also planted some beet greens so that we can eat those as a lettuce leaf. We have some pepper plants. This one's eggplant, which has really fuzzy, soft leaves when you plant those. And then this pepper looks like it's just about to flower. Let's see. Over this way we have the asparagus. It was just starting to come out before last time we did a visit. Now we're letting it grow up so it can get lots of energy and keep growing and coming back next year. Although there are still a few that are thick enough down here for us to pick. So that one looks like it could be something we eat soon. They've just started to flower. And then they're starting to make their first strawberries, so it's not going to be long. We'll be eating some strawberries, hopefully before the birds get here. I planted a bunch of things straight from seed, and I usually overseed, put too many seeds in one spot. So what I do is I harvest them when they're little and either eat them as a lettuce leaf or use them in a salad or something like that. So these are radishes, which I'm not going to use these early, but I did want to pull one out. One that's a little too close to the other ones. So you can see how they'll start to grow. So that's the beginning of a radish right there. And it'll be about the size of a small tomato. And then that's when you want to eat it. You can try to eat it right now. It's pretty small. Things that I planted from seed are doing really well, like these are beets. They're just starting to grow right there. There's also some lettuce greens that are doing really well over here, and all the way down to some kale that's that way, which is again another kind of thing you use in salad. Some of the other things I planted did not grow so well. Planted peas, and out of a whole row of peas, I only got 2 or 3. There's the third one over there. So I am going to replant those today. Again, it might have been it was too dry, I didn't water them enough, or maybe just the windy, crazy weather. They didn't have a chance. So we'll redo those today and hope for a better turnout. So to plant the pea seeds, we're going to take our spade or a little shovel and I'm going to make a trench, which is like digging a little split in the earth. And then once I have that, I'm going to put some seeds in there. This is what the seeds look like. They're pretty big. And because mine didn't do so well last time, I am going to seed a lot so that hopefully something will come up this time. And then once I have all of the seeds in, I'm just going to take my shovel again, do a light cover over with the dirt, and then they'll just need some water to grow. The other thing that we are doing a lot of this time of year is getting rid of as many weeds as we can. And so my trick is to use this little, it's called a scuttle hoe, or some people I've heard they can call it a saddle hoe because it looks like a little saddle stirrup. But you take the scuttle hoe and you just run it back and forth over the plants that you're trying to weed out when they're little, and it easily gets rid of them. You can't let them get too big or it won't work as well. So that's our kale that we want over there, and then the weeds in the middle aren't there anymore. So our planting and weeding is done. So now we're going to head out of the garden and check out to see what the chickens are up to. On our way, we're also going to peek at the raspberry bushes. So if you've ever had raspberries before, this is how they start out and start to grow. So they started with some flowers. I'm not sure if I can find any more flowers, but I'll look. But the next part that's getting ready to come out is where the fruit is going to be, where it holds the seeds. So this is the spot where the fruit's going to be out. So moving on to the chicks and the chickens. Now the chicks are almost 9 weeks old, and they are in the same run as the big adult chickens, but they're separated right now by a net. That way they can see each other and get used to being part of the same flock, but the chicks are still protected because the bigger chickens might peck them too much. So the little chicks are still growing and getting big enough, and in a few weeks when they get a little bigger, we're going to take the net in the middle down, and then all the chickens will be together. And they do have a pecking order, so they're going to have to figure out their pecking order as new little chicks that are joining the flock of big girls. So here's the inside of the coop, and the big girls have their food and the chicks have their own food. And the top of their little run that they were in before is now in here, and when it's time for them to sleep, they get protected inside there so they don't get pecked at by the bigger chicks. The big girls, of course, are laying eggs, so we have one in here who is either getting ready to lay an egg or is sitting on those eggs to keep them warm. And then there's another box over here that has some eggs in it. 3 eggs on that side. And we have different kinds of chickens, and each different kind lays a different color egg, so we have different colors for each one of the chickens. I hope you enjoyed learning about the plants and the animals and learning about gardens and how to grow them in a way that makes them also a nice habitat for the pollinators that we've been talking about. And I've enjoyed sharing all these things with you, and I hope to see you again real soon.